Pedestrian safety for kids. We understand that pedestrian safety for kids is an important concern for parents and guardians, especially when it comes to ensuring that their children are safe while walking or playing near roads. And while you may be aware of the risks associated with letting your kids roam around outside on their own, it can be challenging to keep them cooped up inside all day. However, with the right precautions and education, you can significantly reduce the risk of pedestrian accidents for your children. Why is pedestrian safety for kids important? Pedestrian safety is an important issue for kids because children are more vulnerable than adults to accidents on the road. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, pedestrians under the age of 14 accounted for 18% of all pedestrian fatalities in 2018. Before we dive into the tips and strategies for keeping your kids safe, let's take a moment to discuss why pedestrian safety is essential for children. Children are at a higher risk of being involved in pedestrian accidents than adults. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, children ages 5 to 14 are at the greatest risk for pedestrian-related injuries. Pedestrian accidents can result in serious injuries, including broken bones, head trauma, and even death. In fact, pedestrian accidents are the third leading cause of injury-related death in children ages 5 to 14. Teaching your kids about pedestrian safety can help them develop lifelong habits that will keep them safe on foot for years to come. With those factors in mind, let's explore some tips for keeping your kids safe on foot. Discourage walking alone. Safety in numbers applies to pedestrians, especially children. Your child's risks of a pedestrian collision decline when your child walks in a group. A larger group of children is more visible to drivers and bicyclists than a single child. A car is also less likely to try to drive around a group of children than a single child in a crosswalk. Explain roadway rules to your children. Children are not always able to cross streets with an adult or a group. Children need to learn at an early age where it is safety to cross a street and how to use traffic and crosswalk signs to avoid an accident. Pedestrian collisions involving kids often occur when they dart out into the road or cross where they do not have the right of way. Reduce distractions. Children face an increased risk of injury due to pedestrian distractions like phones and headphones. Even walking in a group, your child can be distracted by other children. A distracted child or teen is at greater risk of impact by a car by failing to avoid an oncoming danger or crossing a street without the right of way. Too many motorists are negligent, and some even assume a pedestrian will stop and let a car pass even if the pedestrian has the right of way. Increase child visibility. As personal injury attorneys, we often hear drivers insist a pedestrian vehicle collision was caused by the pedestrian that they never saw or came out of nowhere, insisting they are not responsible for the accident. Another way to reduce the likelihood of pedestrian injuries is to have your child wear high-visibility clothes and gear. Bright colors and reflectors can help make a pedestrian more noticeable, especially at night or in the early morning. Another way to increase visibility is to make sure your child knows to cross at sidewalks. Try to be visible on sidewalks and follow traffic laws. Drivers are more likely to stop and avoid a collision at a crosswalk and when using pedestrian crossing signals. What to do if your child is hit by a car as a pedestrian? Pedestrian collisions often cause serious bodily injuries and even death. Children are especially vulnerable to these collisions due to their size, lack of knowledge about traffic safety, and the vulnerable state of their young bodies. By taking all reasonable precautions, your child can increase their safety as a pedestrian and reduce the likelihood of injury. If your child is hit by a car, your first priority is taking care of their health. You should contact our experienced Denver pedestrian accident attorneys as soon as possible to discuss the case. Pedestrian accident cases are often more complex due to the severity of injuries and drivers blaming pedestrians for the collision.